start off with a story. And I think you may know why I'm sharing this story, but it is something that happened recently. So about 2 weeks ago, I was helping out my boss, and he was going through the process of getting a green card. So for those of you that are familiar, when you are towards the end process of getting your green card, you have to go through an interview. Now he was getting the green card through an invitation with family, and because of Trump, now you have to go do interviews even with family invitation. Before Trump, apparently you didn't have to do any kind of interviews. So I help him through this process. I'm only really there as a backup translator, right? Like a real backup translator. They have translators usually on premise, through the phone. So we go to the city, and we go through the federal building somewhere in downtown. And it's typical federal building layout. You go inside, and there's a really nasty woman who tells you to hurry up and go. Typical New York assholery, right? And we're going through the different check-in points. You got to go through here, then you got to go through there, and you finally get to the last waiting room of where the interview is going to happen between my boss and the interviewer. And they ask, questions like, have you ever done this? Have you ever done that? Simple, basic questions. Are you a criminal? Do you engage in drugs or selling drugs or terrorism? All that bullshit, right? I mean, whatever. Like the questions are so outrageous, some of them. But I did take a look, and I don't know. Like the U.S. When I think about the U.S. immigration system and the questions that they ask, it's like, when was the last time that this has been updated? Because these are questions that I felt are maybe relevant back in the 90s, right? You're asking about terrorism. You're asking about, bringing in weapons. And I mean, who on their right mind is going to go to this interview and say, yes, yes, I brought in weapons. Yes, I smuggled drugs. Yes, I'm part of a crime organization. Like who's going to do that in an interview? Right? It makes no sense. But anyway, that's apparently the things that they ask. So I'm there, and we get to the final waiting room, right? Me, my boss, his father, who is the invitee, and we're there. And as soon as we get to the waiting room, there's a security guard, right? He's sitting right in front of the waiting room, and I'm holding a cup of, I think it was like Dunkin' Donuts, iced coffee, and he tells me, hey, you have to throw that out. I'm like, all right, relax. I'll throw it out. No need to get all fucking, like a little anxious about some fucking coffee. I'm looking for a garbage can, right? I'm looking for a garbage can, and right behind him there is a garbage can. So I ask him nicely, like, sir, can I throw this out, behind you? And he comes to me and he says, no, you can't throw it out there. So I'm like, okay. He doesn't want me to enter this waiting room until I throw out this fucking coffee. And there's a garbage can right behind this desk, and it's not even part of his desk. It's like 5 steps behind the desk in like this long hallway, right? So he says no, and I'm holding this coffee, and I look inside the room. The waiting room, it's a large waiting room, and there's a garbage can there. And I said, look, can I throw it out there? And he just looks at me, and he gives me this sign, like in other words, just this, it's him telling me just shut up and go in, right? So he's being a dick. Nothing new, right? Many New Yorkers, we're a bunch of dicks. I can be a dick. I get it. All right. He hates his fucking job. He probably hates his life. His wife isn't probably fucking him. I don't know the deal. Whatever the issue is, it is what it is. Okay, so I go in the room. Right, he tells me just go in, or gives me the hand motion, and I'm there, and I'm sitting down there, and I see the garbage can. There's a garbage can inside the waiting room that's a little further out there, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just gonna finish this coffee, and I'm just gonna throw it out there. Maybe about 2 minutes in, right? 2 minutes later, the guy comes storming inside the waiting room, he starts pointing at me, and he says, "You get out now." He's like making a huge fucking fuss. Get out now. And I'm like, dude, like relax. All right, what's the problem? And I get up and I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and we're having this sort of stare down moment, right? In the fucking waiting room with this security guy. And I'm looking at him and he's looking at me. And this like staring back and forth, you guys try to imagine, happens for literally about a minute. It was a long minute. And inside that minute, I'm going through all the scenarios, right? I'm going through, okay, like, this guy, if I get into a little scrap with him, what if he pulls out like a fucking taser gun or some weapon on me, Like, okay, there's a good chance he probably has something. He has like this belt on him that has different sorts of tools. I'm sure there's something that he can use to subdue me. So I'm like, okay, in that case, I'll definitely lose the fight. But even if I lose the fight, I'm going to make sure I hurt this motherfucker. I'm going to make sure that even if I go down, that something of his body or he will receive some sort of damage that will be permanent. And he will remember for the rest of his fucking life that he messed with the wrong person. So all this is going inside my head during the stare down. And, it's building up, right? The tension is really building up. And it's like that moment where I'm about to snap, right? Like, maybe some of you guys know about this moment. It's like this anger that comes out. Like, I rarely get angry. I get angry here and there, but I don't get to the point of the boiling point where, I'm going to do something that gets violent. So, it's building up to that point where I'm with this fucking, douchebag security guard. And my boss, he sees what's going on. He pulls me over. He says, it's like, what are you doing? This is, like, what are you doing? Like, this is my fucking green card interview day. Stop this fucking nonsense. Okay. So he pulls me to the side. Told him I'm sorry, with the whole situation. He saw what happened. His father saw what happened. The whole room saw what's going on, right? It was ridiculous. So, someone in the waiting room told the security guard, look, he's just going to throw out the coffee and he's going to sit, all right? Like, we don't have to, this doesn't have to be a thing. So, I do that, right? I throw out the coffee and I sit down and I look at him and he looks at me and he gives a little grunt and he's all pissy for no fucking reason, right? He sits back down. Whatever, right? It is what, just let it go. Not worth the trouble, right? After I cool down a bit, I realized completely not, like if I get into a fight with the security guard, whose side are the people going to take? Me or the security guard? It's, you're not thinking straight. So fast forward like 3 minutes, another Asian family walks in. And this Asian family walks in, and they're like a family of maybe 4 or 5, I can't remember. And then they're going in, and I remember the security guard now yelling again at this Asian family. I think they were Chinese. At this family saying, "Hey, you can't go in. You can't go in. You can't go. You outside. Oh, you don't understand English? You outside." And I'm just like, son, what the fuck is this dude's problem? People here in this specific room within this federal building are here on a almost, potential joyous day, right? If they pass the interview, which I'm assuming most do, they're gonna get their green card, and there will be legal residents of the United States. This is, a tense moment for people. It's nerve-wracking to some people. I mean, and you got this guy who's being a complete asshole to, in my perception now, to Asians, right? He's just being a complete dick, and how that whole situation panned out, there was this young kid within the Asian family, and he's sort of going back and forth verbally with the security guy. And I think even he himself came to the realization where, look, if I go down with this security guard, doesn't matter what happens, I'm going to lose at the end of the day, right? Like, if you fight with a security guard, you're going to lose, right? I mean, this dude, and let me just kind of describe him, right? He's probably he's older. He's probably in his 50s or 60s. He's a tall, and I'm going to assume he's of European descent. And, the guy obviously hates his life and hates his job, right? Probably has mental issues as well. Maybe he's a fucking racist. Maybe not. I don't know.